Hello, everyone. It's Robin and Lindsay. Thank you if you are joining us again or watching. We are two coaches on a mission this year, and we are coming to you spelling out success for 2022. And the way we're doing that is every time we hop onto LinkedIn Live or YouTube, we are walking through the alphabet letter by letter and bringing you some things that start with that letter that will help you do anything you want to do, whether that's set new goals, accomplish new things, whether that's shift your thinking, get a new mindset, give yourself a chance for a positive outcome in absolutely anything you are wanting or needing to do. Hi, Lindsay. How are you?
Hi, Robin. Good. How are you?
Good. So we are on the letter N as in
Yes.
Nancy, or I
Yes.
guess N as in let's just start bringing N as in the words that we're going to share today. And
Yes.
we've got a handful of them. A couple of them are a little bit more of a deep dive. A couple of them are a little more surface type stuff that are little things that can make a big difference. So we're going to go ahead and start actually with something kind of simple, and we're going to have that lead into something a little more in depth. And that thing we're going to start with, that is our first N for the day, is new things. You know, it's so easy, we all do it, to get caught up in our routines, our day to day, our autopilot. And what we do is literally the same things over and over and over and over and over again. And we're not always looking to make shifts. Sometimes what we're doing is working and we like it and it's okay. So this isn't about stopping something you're doing that's good or enjoyable or working for you. However, trying new things throughout your life actually have tremendous health benefits or has tremendous health benefits. And of course, I'm blanking on the name of the person who did this study. I don't know if you know, Lindsay, but if you've ever heard of the nun study, right? And what happened was you can go onto Google and just put in nun memory study and it'll come up. It was a TED talk. It's a bunch of amazing research. A book came out of it. Basically what happened was these researchers were looking for a place where everyone environmentally was pretty much the same. They did the same stuff. They ate the same stuff. They were in the same environment consistently, all of those things, because then we could take out all of the causation correlation things. And what they did is they did this long-term memory study because they were looking to see what are things that actually affect things like Alzheimer's and dementia. And long story short, you can look at the study if you want, read the TED Talk. You can watch the TED Talk. It's pretty amazing what they found. In a nutshell, here's what they found. Memory loss is very normal as we're aging. The synapses are starting to dry up a little bit some places. And what happens is a lot of times the advice we get is, okay, here's all the info you have in your brain. Do things like crossword puzzles and things like that to continue that recall. But what they found in this study was if you're practicing by recalling things you already know, as the normal aging process happens, those things go away. That's not going to help you grow your brain. The idea is to stave off things like dementia, continue to learn things so that those synapses are popping and you have more and more and more. You're growing your brain instead of just reminding yourself what you already know. The difference is as the normal aging process happens, you still lose some of that, but because you've gained more, you don't fall into the conditions of I'm at a complete loss. I can't recall anything. If I only have this and I lose this, I'm down to this. If I expand it and I still lose this, look at how much I still have in there to access. So it's a fascinating study, and it lends itself to the next N that I'm going to pass the torch to you, Lindsay, because you can go a little in depth about this, which is the idea of neuroplasticity, what that is and why that is so key to understand and to work with in your own brain.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Robin. I feel like you set this up beautifully. All of your wisdom. Thank you. And good morning, Allison. We saw you pop on and
Good
love
morning,
having
Allison.
you here. And I'm going to pull in your hurdle, Allison. So hang in there as we go through this. It will be relevant. So one might be saying, why is it important to try new things? I get that, like, it might keep my brain healthy, but why are we talking about this today? So that's what we're going to go into right now with neuroplasticity. Okay. Neuroplasticity is actually a mashup of two words. Neural, which is relating to our nervous system, and plasticity is the capacity to adapt or change. And we're going to sit in this for a second. The capacity to adapt or change. And I'm going to say that because how many of us get in this rhythm of it's just me? I just grab a glass of wine when I walk home from work or I get home from work. It's just me. I just talk negatively to myself. It's just me. I've always done it. I just will never have confidence. That's just always been me since I've been a little kid. I'm just not a worker outer. That's just me. So as you're listening and you go, I wonder what I would follow up that's just me with. Then we start to think about this neuroplasticity talk and we say, wait a minute, hold on. I have the capacity. My brain has the capacity at whatever age I'm at to change. Interesting, right? And so, in other words, it refers to the brain's ability to change itself. Neuroplasticity is the mechanism by which the brain encodes experiences and learns new behaviors. And there's no like it learns it at the age of 15 or learns it as a man or learns it as a woman, or all of us have the capacity to change our brain and these neural pathways that Robin laid out so beautifully. And so, when we think about this, I want you to picture, I'm going to give an example. And Allison, this is where I was like, maybe we can pull your example in of if somebody has a lot of trouble with negative self-talk. Okay. And you're trying to make a huge change to stop the negative self-talk. Well, what happens when we do a behavior again and again? That encoding, that learning, it solidifies, it gets stronger. And so when we have moments where we go, it's like too much energy to work on something, or I don't care, I'll start Monday, or, oh, I heard that negative comment slip out of my mouth, but it's not that big of a deal. It is that big of a deal because now we've just strengthened that pathway. We've done more encoding, more learning in that area. And I think about that with people who at night, if it's somebody who's going, I'm just going to have the ice cream tonight, I'll start tomorrow. Well, you just missed like this golden opportunity to unstrengthen that connection between I eat ice cream before I go to bed, or if it's wine, that first time that you're ever doing something, haven't you noticed that it's actually the hardest? And then the more that you stick with something, it gets a little bit easier and easier. And so one of the things that really helps me, because I can't envision like what my neural pathways look like in my brain. I get the concept, but I don't have a good visual with it. And so I like to think of it as an actual road pathway, or like here in Arkansas, we have these beautiful trails that you can hike for miles upon miles. And it's because somebody's already cleared the pathway, right? But if somebody hadn't, if I approach this pathway and we've got sticks and branches and they're cluttered, and I would literally need a machete to like chop my way through. And if you've ever watched somebody do that, it looks exhausting. You're getting poked, you're getting thorns in you, you're getting beat up, and your muscles hurt at the end of the day. And so let's take somebody who's saying, I want to start working out and I'd never thought of myself as a worker outer. Well, guess what? That first time that they're looking at the path and it's uncarved, they wake up the next day and they're like, that sucks. Like, I'm sore. I'm emotionally beat down because it didn't feel good. Why would I want to come back to it? But let's say they do come back to it. Now their path, it's not perfect. They've still got twigs and sticks and they've still got branches hanging down, but they go at it again, machete, carve it out. And it wasn't quite as bad that next time. And then you keep doing that. You keep coming back to it and it keeps getting a little bit easier and easier. Same thing with negative self-talk. It'll keep getting easier and easier if you really stop doing it. And that's going to take a ton of conscious effort, because every time you hear yourself say something, you're going to have to combat it with something that's either a little more positive or debunking if is that even truth that's coming out of my mouth. So I want you to think of pathways and just know, and this is the belief, this is the faith, and that I can change. It's going to take time to get my pathway cleared off. And the other thing is the expectation. Do not have the expectation that the other path goes away, because it doesn't. We've already carved that pathway of negative self-talk. but now we're carving a new pathway. So we're trying to let the weeds grow on the negative self-talk pathway, and we're trying to make it beautiful and clear and so easy to walk down on the positive self-talk. And so again, if for having this in conversation today in neuroplasticity, if you get nothing else from it, to me, it is so hope-filled that I can change. Everyone can change. There's not one person that Robin and I can take and go, it's not going to work for you. So I know you're going to have more to say on that too. I'm trying to stay concise here, Robin, but follow it up.
What a beautiful analogy. And the one that was coming to my head was like, you go up into an attic and I decide I'm going to make this attic that nobody's lived in for 40 years in this house, like a nice room. Right. Mm-hmm. But when you first walk up there, there's cobwebs and you got to keep clearing stuff and you're tripping over and a board is sticking up and all that kind of stuff. That's how it is now. But if you can envision what it is, what you want it to be, getting from here to there, that's a process. You don't have a magic wand. Like you said, you're not going to go ahead and go bing, and all of a sudden it's this beautiful rec room, or there's a pool table there and it's lovely, or it's your office. But being able to see from the cobwebs to the finished product is key. And if you think about so many things in life, that's what we have to do. Where you start is not where you end up. But when you start, it's really hard to see this and feel this and really just go, it's going to look like that one day. But when you get to the end and everything looks like it's over because it's done, you look back and go, oh, we did that. Mm-hmm. So, taking that twig analogy, I love how you said, the more that you clear this new path, the more the weeds and the shrubs and the branches fall onto this path, because you're keeping this path nice. This is unkept. And that's going to make this path harder and harder to go down. It's going to make this one clearer and clearer to go down. I love everything you just said. I would
thank you.
Add nothing more than rating those.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we can't leave this yet because I'm loving that Allison's on with us right now. So I feel like anyone else listening or down the road listening is going to get what's going to look like a real life coaching session out of both Robin and I right now with Allison. So Allison, thank you for your vulnerability here. I really appreciate it. But Allison said, I keep thinking that the negative self-talk will totally stop, and it doesn't. It gets better, but it still pops up first. And Robin, I'll want you to comment on this too, but I'll take a first whack at it. I totally hear you, but and I think what I need you to hear from me is this is so normal. Like if something's been ingrained for a really long time for us, or that pathway is just so clear for us, it is going to be the first thing that pops up, and it's going to feel a little bit fake to be working on it. Cause like, you're like, the real thought coming in my head is this, and what I'm trying to tell myself is this. So my hope and want out of you is that you can stick with it long enough. It's that sustainability. It's the ability to keep coming back to it, even if you don't feel like it's working, because there's going to be this golden moment where you all of a sudden hear yourself say something different, or the positive talk pops up first, and you're going to go, oh, it might've been a year or two, but like it will happen. It just takes time and the belief that it will happen. So we have to be, I love the word resilient, and I know we're not on R, but like, I feel like it's the resilience of keep coming back to it. And then all of a sudden my promise to you is it is change. Robin.
And, one of the things that I'll add to that is there are actually 5 different steps to changing a habit, because what we're talking about is changing a habit. There's an autopilot, there's a habit of beating myself up in my own head, or the negative self-talk, whatever that looks for you. Another great N, let's just go with that, right? Negative self-talk. Negative self-talk will stop you in your tracks more than any other person, any other thing. So if you're not reaching a goal, if you're not reaching something you want to do, if you're not getting somewhere, if you feel like you're getting pushed back, do yourself a favor, sit back, get rid of everything outside of you and turn inward for a moment, and realize that probably you might be the biggest pushback in most of your moments. And the beauty of that is That's me. If I'm my problem, I can also be my solution. I don't have to wait for other people to do things or other situations to happen. I can do something about it now. And so to change habits, there are 5 different steps. And just kind of high level to go through these. The first step in changing a habit is awareness, because the very definition of habit is you have no clue you're doing it. It's just you're on autopilot. So you're not even aware. So whether it's someone like a coach who can point out, do you know, I'm noticing you do this a lot and it seems to be getting in your way. Or you read a book, or you see a podcast, or you watch a LinkedIn live, or someone mentions something and you're like, oh my goodness, you too? I do that all the time, right? So again, awareness is step 1. Step 2 is, now that you're aware, you are going to catch yourself doing that thing constantly. Absolutely constantly, because your brain, the moment it's aware of something, it's going to see it all the time in yourself and others, but you're going to catch yourself. The third step is you start to catch yourself, but now either because a coach or someone has said, why don't you do this instead? I'm going to give you something to replace this habit with. So when you catch yourself doing it, I want you to shift in the moment and do this instead. That's step 3. You start to do the old habit. You catch yourself, oh my goodness, I'm doing it. And in the moment you stop and go, let me switch over to the new habit. Step 4 is you say, I'm going to go into this day, this meeting, this situation, whatever it is, and I'm going to do this new habit. You walk in, you do it, and then afterwards you're like, I did it. That's awesome. Here's the challenge. Most people stop at 4 because they think, well, I can conjure it up now anytime I need to or want to. The problem is the moment the stakes get high, the moment stress or anxiety or overwhelm or fear or any type of nervous feeling comes in, we go right back immediately. Your brain wants comfort. Your brain's job is to keep you safe. And so if it fears danger, oh my goodness, I'm going back to safety instantly. So don't stop at 4. The key is step 5 is mastery. And what that means is that is your new autopilot. That is your new habit. You don't have to think about it. That is the thing your brain automatically goes to in every situation. So steps 1 through 4 can happen unbelievably quickly. The moment you're aware and you start figuring out what am I going to do instead, and then just start doing it, within a day or 2, you can get to step 4. Step 4 to 5 takes some time because, as you said before, Lindsay, you've got to do it consistently. You've got to build a new habit and forget the idea of 28 days or whatever to form a habit. No, throw that garbage out. Here's the thing. Just do it until it's a habit. It doesn't matter if it's a week or a month or 6 months or a year. The time's going to pass anyway. Do not get caught up on the time or a number. When should I be done by? That's the part of your brain that's the 4-year-old little child in the back seat that's constantly going, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there? No, sit down and I will tell you when we are there. We'll both know it because we'll be getting out of the car. Until we're getting out of the car, the answer is no, right? Just set some boundaries with your self-talk, right? It's okay to do that and be firm and direct with yourself and be done with it. So think about that in those terms and remember those 5 steps. Because 1 to 4 happens so quickly, you think 4 to 5 should happen so quickly. It doesn't. So the expectation should never be, I'm going to develop this new habit tomorrow or next week or next month. That will happen 0% of the time. So throw that expectation out. Have an expectation that it's going to take you 6 months, because then when you're doing it in 2 or 3 months, guess what? You feel good because you're ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
So if you want to have an expectation, set it twice as long as it's probably going to take, because then you'll be pleasantly surprised instead of constantly disappointed and frustrated.
Right. Which I think is like kind of a good lesson in life in general, that whole under promise and over deliver. I think it's easy to do it for other people, and then we kind of forget to do it for ourselves. Instead, we go a little more hardcore with ourselves. And yes, under promise, over deliver for yourself, because it will feel so much more rewarding.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. We could do like 5 hours on this. So we probably should move on.
I know this was so good though, but I don't want to run out of time before you talk about nighttime routines. Robin and I were chatting a little before we got on. So you got to hit this one.
Yeah, you know what? It's amazing because when we talk about routines, you often hear a lot about morning routines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the 5 a.m. crew, whether it's the, get up and meditate and eat a nice breakfast and, do some yoga, go for a walk, get some fresh air, get some sun. All of that is great advice. And morning routines are key to a healthy and successful life, regardless of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
However, I feel that nighttime routines don't get the same attention that morning routines often do. And they are so important. A small nighttime routine can change your day the next day. It literally can create the exact day that you want. It can put you in control from the second you wake up in the morning, instead of the second you wake up feeling out of control and, oh my goodness, I have a million things to do today. And immediately we jump into that spiral. So just a few quick things about a nighttime routine. And maybe this is our homework for this week, is create a nighttime routine. And let's use those 5 steps, actually. Awareness. Start with, what do you currently do, right? If I am rushing around and we get home late and we order takeout because it's 9 o'clock and nobody's eaten yet and everybody's tired and we eat crap and then we go to lay down, but then we scroll on our phones for 3 hours and then our alarm goes off, it feels like 10 seconds later after we finally got to sleep, we will never be in a good place mentally or physically to do anything effectively or efficiently that next day. I'm going to wake up frustrated. I'm going to wake up exhausted. I'm going to wake up with no energy. And I'm immediately going to begin thinking worst case scenarios of everything. And I'm going to use what I call inflated language too. I have a million things to do today. No, you don't. You have 5. You have 5. You don't have a million. But we say those things because everything gets inflated when we're feeling a little overwhelmed. So when you start a nighttime routine, once I'm aware of what I'm doing, you're going to realize I'm sitting here scrolling on my phone for the second hour again in bed, right? Or for me, I try and read at night, but like I'm a half a page in and I drop the book on my face like 17 times. And I'm sure I just need to finish the chapter, but I don't remember anything I read. I should just close the book and put it down and I can read tomorrow, right? So awareness of what you're doing, catch yourself, and then go, okay, what am I going to do instead? And here are a couple of easy things to think about. 1, turn your screen off. Do not lay in bed with your screen in front of your face. If you want to check something, go sit down somewhere, a chair, a couch, a different room, that's fine. Check what you need to, scroll a little if that's what you need to do. Put your phone down and lay down. Once you're laying in bed, no screen. There's, again, you can deep dive into this if that's something you want to learn more about. The light, what happens to your brain, it affects your brain. You will not get a good night's sleep. There are physiological reasons why that screen impacts your brain in a way it will not shut down. So that's a quick, easy thing to practice. For some people, probably easier said than done. Do yourself a favor. And if you lay down, there is no screen. Bless you.
Thank you.
2, another great thing. If you, I just completely lost my train. I'm
sorry. It was my sneeze.
I looked over at some of the comments and I should not have done that. Another great thing to do is, and here it is, I remembered it. A lot of times it's very common. You lay down and what do you start thinking of? The next day and all the things I have to do. And then maybe we think about something we forgot to do or we should have done. And now we're ruminating in the past, right? Or we're looking out in the future and our brains are going a mile a minute while we're trying to go to sleep, which is why we can't. So one great idea for a nighttime routine, get in the habit of the last thing you do 15 minutes before you go to bed, grab a pen and a pad of paper. You can crumple this up and throw it out if you want. That's even cathartic sometimes. Is write down all the things that are going on in your head. Get them out of your head, brain dump. Tomorrow, I need to do this. I need to do that. I could have done this, but I didn't. So it doesn't matter. I don't need to go back and think about it. I can't change it. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to do that. In this meeting, I'm going to ask for this. Get it all out of your head. Just brain dump it. Whether you call it journaling, whether you just call it taking some notes, you can do it on your computer. I would suggest writing it because there's again, a whole bunch of science that explains the power of writing and how it impacts and sticks in our brain. So get it out. If you get it out by the time you lay down, you've already thought through all of this stuff and you've gotten it out of your head. It's there. The other thing you'll notice by doing that is in your head, it feels like 100 things. When you get it out on paper, it's literally like 4 things. So again, it's that I blow things up in my head because I play them over and over and over and over and over again. If I have 4 things to do tomorrow, but I've run them in my head 5 times, I think I have 20 things to do. I don't. I still have 4. So if I get them out in front of me and I can look at them, even if I start thinking about them again, I can go, no, I don't have that many things. I have 4 things and they're right here. I'm in control. I'm good to go. So the screen time and the brain dump are 2 huge things to start with if you've never done a nighttime routine. It will allow you to sleep better. And again, remember, the only time your body's repairing and recovering is when you're sleeping. So keep in mind that's stuff that will help you to wake up mentally and physically more refreshed in the morning, and your body will be working a little more effectively, a little more efficiently, like it knows how to do if it gets what it needs. So those are 2 huge things. If you want to expand that nighttime routine, you certainly can. Start it an hour out and literally have things you do or stop doing at certain times before it leads up to you laying down. So what are your thoughts on a nighttime routine, Lindsay?
Yeah, I think that you introduced this beautifully, and there's literally whole podcasts on sleep and the importance of sleep, and the Matthew Walker's book that's out there, if anybody has seen him interviewed with sleep. And it really does all have to do, with nighttime routine and lighting and whatnot. I'm going to come at this though for a minute with more of my weight management hat on, because this is a common barrier for, I would almost say, all of my clients. That's probably a far stretch, but almost all. And it's a nasty one to break. And it's the whole concept of me time, that people finally get to that hour where they're laying down and starting the scrolling. And they cannot just set their phone off to the side. Like, it is this like battle in their brain of the second I set my phone off to the side, then I know my night's over. And then the whole cycle starts over tomorrow. And then I fight for my alone time at night, and then blah, 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 blah. Right. So it's a vicious cycle. And how do we start to break that cycle is the tricky part. So if we're thinking about nighttime routine, we can stay with what Robin's talking about and needing to put devices down, and we need to find other pleasure seeking things. Like for Robin to be able to, for her book to fall on her face, it's because a book is way more calming. It actually slows down our senses. So finding those things that actually unwind us and allow us to, and set a bedtime, it would be my 3rd thing that I would add into that homework, and really try to stick to it. Because if you're going, oops, it's midnight again, and I'm waking up at 5, think about how that ripple can go into the next morning. And now I wake up tired. And because I'm tired, I'm going to emotionally eat during the day. And because I emotionally eat, I'm frustrated with myself. And now I'm frustrated with the kids. And now I'm frustrated with my husband. And now I got to bedtime, and now it's me time. And I don't want to do anything but sit here and scroll again. And the cycle starts over. So it's like, you've got to take back to that neuroplasticity talk. We have to take that one day and say, today I'm changing. I'm going to bed on a bedtime, and let it ripple into, maybe it'll be a little bit easier tomorrow to keep doing that, because we're shifting and changing our pathways. But again, we have to have the faith that I can make this change, because if it seems too big of a hill to climb, we won't even attempt it, right? But my promise to you is that this nighttime for a lot of people is the first step in changing everything. We're talking relationships, we're talking health, we're talking weight, we're talking drinking habits. You've got to sleep. If you don't sleep and you start and approach your day tired always, good luck, right? Yeah. That was a lot of rambling. We should probably summarize.
It's great stuff. And again, Allison came up, ADDers have trouble shutting off the mind in general, right? And it's described sometimes as having multiple channels, TV channels, for example, on at a time. And Lindsay, with what you were just talking about, the idea isn't that something that can be helpful is for anybody is if I have 10 channels going in my head at one time, I don't need to shut off 10 channels. Again, don't look at the black or white because you will never succeed at that. And you'll feel like a failure. You'll feel like you can never get it right. And you'll start to feel I'm different. Why am I the one that does? Everyone else can do this. And we start to story tell. And really, again, that negative self-talk creeps in really quickly. If I have 10 channels on, can I turn one off? Because even if I can turn one off, did that just lessen the channels? Absolutely. So shoot for turning one off. And again, you mentioned some things. I mentioned some things. Feel free if you want to on LinkedIn, feel free comment if there are things you have that you can share with other people who are watching this. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
The idea is you don't have to always do it completely. If you are able to lessen it a little bit, it becomes a little easier. And then that's easier to lessen that a tiny bit. And then it's easier to lessen that a tiny bit. So one, awareness. What does my brain do? No judgment, just awareness. Two, what do I want to do to change one little thing? That's it. That's the goal always. And you will be in such a better place for you almost instantly. And then just keep building off of that. What's the next thing you want to do? What's the next thing? One step at a time, huge things. Little things done consistently give you huge results.
It carves your pathway. Yes.
Yes. New neural pathways. Now that we've come full circle, I guess we can start to wrap that up.
Wrap up. That was pretty good, Robin. We tied it up with a bow, man.
I was going to say, sometimes it just works and you roll with it, right? Someone tees it up, you hit the ball. So great stuff. So thank you for joining us again for the letter N. What do we have? L, M, and O. So next time is O, and we will join you in another couple of weeks with O. We'll post that on LinkedIn. And if you see it and you have any thoughts, feel free, and we will talk about those things if you suggest things. Other than that, just
where do we find you, Robin?
Where do we find me? LinkedIn. I'm always hanging out on LinkedIn, so feel free to follow me or connect if it makes sense to do so. You can also learn how to work with me there if that might be of value to you. And also my website, robinjsachs.com. How about you, Lindsay House?
Yes, healthaccountabilitycoach.com is my website where you can find all my podcasts there, Direction, Not Perfection. You can also grab it on iTunes or Spotify or anywhere that you grab your podcast. I feel like that's kind of a happy home for me. And I'm in the process of opening up just a Direction, Not Perfection free community for all to just kind of jump into and be able to throw these types of talks in there so that if anyone wants to go straight from A to Z with us, they can.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Always a pleasure. Always. I always learn wonderful things with you.
You too.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you, Allison.
Yeah. Thank you, Allison, for coming in again, being vulnerable and showing up. It's amazing. It takes one person to say the things that so many people out there are thinking for themselves, but aren't ready to step out and say. And so it's amazing how one voice can help so many people and not even know it, which is amazing, which is part of why we love doing what we do.
Yes.
So someone needed to hear that today. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Lindsay. And everybody go try something new today and get your nighttime routine together and let us know how it goes.
Yes. Have good days.
Have a good one. Bye. Thanks, Lindsay.